The Brno weekend saw the much-anticipated return of reigning MotoGP world champion Jorge Martin, a comeback cloaked in a whirlwind of controversy and contractual drama. His presence on track, after a significant injury layoff, was overshadowed by the preceding weeks of speculation regarding his future with Aprilia. What transpired was not merely a rider returning from injury, but a champion's U-turn that has left the paddock, fans, and perhaps even Aprilia themselves grappling with complex emotions. The clause that stirred the hornet's nest: a champion's justification. The saga began with Jorge Martin's declaration, made in a pre-race interview on Thursday at Brno, that he had no regrets and felt no need to apologize for attempting to activate a contract clause that would have allowed him to leave Aprilia. This statement, delivered by the returning #1 and reigning champion, was met with a mix of disbelief and anger from many, particularly given Aprilia's unwavering support during his challenging recovery. Martin's justification hinged on a contractual clause, ostensibly allowing him to seek alternative teams if Aprilia underperformed. He stated that this clause was there in the contract, so I have no regrets on this. But here's where the fiery content ignites. Was this clause truly designed for a situation where the rider was sidelined due to injury, rather than the team's on-track performance? Aprilia had invested deeply in Martin, not just financially, but emotionally. They brought him in, placed immense trust in him, and treated him as their own kid in their home, as some have put it. To then have him, while injured and unable to ride, seek an exit based on a performance clause felt like a profound betrayal. It begs the question: does that same clause mention anything about a rider being unable to ride or making an appearance on track due to injury? Does it specify that in such a scenario, Aprilia's continued support counts for nothing? The optics were terrible. Martin, out of action, seemed to believe he could simply walk into another factory team, much like a fully fit multiple-time champion might. This perception of entitlement, coupled with the apparent disregard for Aprilia's steadfastness, led to accusations of him totally defaming Aprilia. And the defiance didn't stop there. Martin reportedly posted a story hinting at his side of the story, claiming he went through the worst time of his life in hospital, known only to his father and girlfriend. While no one would wish a difficult recovery on any athlete, the implication that the entire MotoGP world should halt and wait for his personal battles to conclude struck many as tone-deaf. How did legends like Valentino Rossi, Jorge Lorenzo, Marc Marquez, or Casey Stoner navigate their injuries? They too had their loved ones for support, but their focus remained on recovery and returning to their existing teams without openly seeking greener pastures. Stoner, famously, took a mid-season break in 2009, but didn't threaten to jump ship. The no regrets, no apologies stance only fueled the fire, leaving a lingering question: does a champion's status exempt them from accountability and gratitude? This segment highlights a crucial point. Maturity and emotional connection are often demonstrated through humility, even in the face of perceived contractual rights. The U-turn explained. A lack of options and a calculated move, the abrupt U-turn, Martin's decision to stay with Aprilia despite his earlier attempts to leave, quickly became the subject of intense speculation. The most glaring question was, why the change of heart? Let's dissect the available factory seats. Realistically, only Honda remained as a potential factory destination for Martin. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Comparing Aprilia to Honda at this moment, Aprilia stands head and shoulders above. Aprilia has emerged as the second-best manufacturer on the grid, consistently fighting for podiums and wins. Honda, on the other hand, has been struggling significantly. This context provides a stark revelation. Martin's comeback and renewed commitment to Aprilia was not necessarily a sudden realization of loyalty or renewed affection, but rather a calculated move driven by a lack of viable alternatives. He had, perhaps, planned his game quite good by initially testing the waters, only to find himself in a position where Honda was the sole remaining factory option, a step down from Aprilia's current competitive standing. The irony is palpable. Martin, who just weeks prior was attempting to invoke a clause due to Aprilia's underperforming team, a claim made while he wasn't even riding, now announced his decision to stay, almost as if he were giving rebirth to Aprilia. This narrative feels disingenuous. Would Jorge Martin, if he were in a similar position with Pecco leaving Ducati or Binder leaving KTM this year, does he stand in his decision to stay with Aprilia? 200% no. But unfortunately, there are no factory seats available for Martin, so he picked safer side. The bigger question is how Aprilia, even with Martin's explicit statements about exploring other options and having no regrets, proceeded to re-sign him. Were they truly blind to the implications of his actions? Or was there an underlying force at play, pushing for this reconciliation? This leads us to the third crucial segment. Dorna, Rivola, and the future, a forged reconciliation or a fearful retreat. The fear of no future likely played a significant role in Martin's U-turn. It wasn't a sudden surge of maturity or newfound devotion to Aprilia. The statements from key figures within the sport paint a clearer picture of the pressure Martin faced. Aprilia CEO Massimo Rivola had made it clear that they were prepared to find answers in courtrooms regarding the contractual dispute. Carlo Pernat, a veteran of the MotoGP paddock and a respected voice, publicly supported Aprilia, stating that they would make sure Martin can't ride until things with Aprilia sort out. This wasn't a mere contractual disagreement. It was a public standoff with serious implications for Martin's career. The prospect of being sidelined, unable to compete, and facing legal battles would be a daunting one for any rider, let alone a reigning world champion. Dorna, the commercial rights holder of MotoGP, also reportedly intervened to facilitate a resolution. Their interest lies in a stable grid with top riders competing, and a protracted legal battle involving the reigning champion would be detrimental to the sport's image. Therefore, the future you're talking about was less about a vision shared with Aprilia and more about the fear of having no future at all in MotoGP if the dispute escalated. This wasn't a decision born of rekindled passion, but one of pragmatic necessity. The defiant, no-regrets stance, even after the reconciliation, feels hollow when viewed through this lens. Furthermore, Aprilia's recent success, particularly through Marco Bezzecchi, dramatically shifted the landscape. Bezzecchi, the rider who delivered Aprilia a win after Martin's initial Instagram post about his contractual situation, truly showcased the speed and cornering prowess of the Aprilia RSGP. He proved that Aprilia can win. This wasn't just a testament to Bezzecchi's talent, but a powerful statement to Martin and the entire paddock. Aprilia was winning, and winning convincingly, even without their reigning champion. This slap with results live undoubtedly put immense pressure on Martin. While he was exploring other teams and finding limited options, Aprilia was demonstrating its strength on track. His return, therefore, might be seen less as giving life to Aprilia and more as an acknowledgement that Aprilia was thriving, and he needed to be a part of that success. Inside the garage. A performance, not a penitent speech. Paolo Bonora's revelation about Martin's meeting with his crew on Thursday evening at Brno provides a fascinating insight. Martin's words, as quoted by Bonora, "Please, forget. We will look only to the future. We want to join this team together. Everybody needs to bring all of their effort and energy, as I will do," sound like a rallying cry, a call to arms for his team. Bonora praised it as a very good speech, and the team's readiness to move forward is commendable. However, given Martin's public no regrets, no apology stance, these words inside the garage come across less as a humble acknowledgement of past missteps and more as a heroic, almost instructional performance. It's a champion dictating the terms of reconciliation rather than genuinely seeking forgiveness. Aprilia, it seems, has chosen to focus on the future and the immense talent Martin brings. Massimo Rivola's sentiment of a special comeback and Bonora's joy at having two strong and talented riders are understandable from a team perspective. They need to harness Martin's ability for on-track success. But for the observers, the narrative remains complex. This wasn't a true comeback in the traditional sense of a rider overcoming adversity and humbly returning. It was, as some might argue, a forced way back to stay here in MotoGP due to limited alternatives and external pressure. The absence of a heartfelt apology, even privately, leaves a lingering sense that the maturity touted by some is merely a facade for a strategic retreat. The unasked questions as Martin returned to the paddock, the interviews often focused on his physical recovery and feelings about being back. But the real questions, the ones that probe the core of the recent drama, remain largely unasked. Why the sudden change of heart? What specific discussions with Dorna and Aprilia led to the U-turn? Does he truly believe he owes no apology for the public dispute, or is that a facade for the media? The sport often champions humility and respect. While Martin is undeniably a fierce competitor and a reigning champion, his conduct during this period has raised questions about these core values. The idea that Aprilia, the team that stuck by him, should somehow apologize to him speaks volumes about a shifting perception of entitlement in modern sport. Ultimately, Jorge Martin's return to Aprilia is a testament to his undeniable talent and the team's pragmatic decision to prioritize on-track success. However, the saga leaves a bitter taste for many, highlighting the delicate balance between contractual rights, team loyalty, and personal accountability in the cutthroat world of MotoGP. The future will tell if this forced reconciliation can truly blossom into a harmonious and championship-winning partnership, or if the cracks exposed during this turbulent period will eventually resurface. What are your thoughts on this complex situation? Do you believe Martin's actions were justified, or do you see a need for more humility from the champion?